Your portfolio is a big deal, and in this tutorial, we'll walk through creating an architecture portfolio template in Adobe InDesign. Hi, I'm Daisy Ein, and I'm a designer, illustrator, and developer. We're going to create a template in Adobe InDesign that you can use to showcase your work, and you can expand upon these concepts to best suit your work in your way, too. Before we dig in, if you're a creative professional, you know how important it is to have assets in your toolkit. Things like fonts or graphics, and Envato Elements is just an awesome resource to have on your side. One low price gets you unlimited access to stock photos, illustrations, fonts, logos, design templates. It's a huge library. And with simple commercial licensing, it's easy to use in all of your professional projects. Check out the link in the description to get started. And if you're a fan of design content, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's tons of tutorials, insights, and other design topics to check out. Now, let's get started. We'll begin in Adobe InDesign, and let's start up a new document. For this portfolio design, we're going to work with a square presentation. We'll set the width and the height to both 10 inches. This is a preference, so if you prefer different measurements, that's okay too. Before we finish our document setup, however, let's adjust a few other things. We'll set the margins to 0.5 inches on the top, bottom, and outside. On the inside, however, let's set those margins to 0.75 inches, just a little extra, to accommodate the space that may be lost between pages in my spreads. I'm also going to add 0.125-inch bleed to my document. Once you're happy with your document settings, you can just click OK to get started on your document. So let's begin by creating a parent page. To open the Pages panel, go to Window, Pages. Then we can see our parent pages up here at the top of the panel. Double-click to go inside the parent page. We'll be designing a 2-page spread here, so I'm going to make sure to add a page here to create a spread in Parent A. So portfolios are designed to showcase our work. We want to have large, beautiful space for doing just that. When I design a layout, whether it's for print or the web, I usually start with some kind of wireframe or a rough draft of some kind, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using some gray rectangular frames to block out my layout design. And again, these are just placeholders while I get a feel for my design. So here's the layout I decided to go with. Next, let's create some guides based on our layout design. So why do this? Well, I'm going to add typography to my design, and I want it to have a cohesive visual relationship to my imagery. To add a guide, all I have to do is click and drag from the rulers here in my work area. Here's the guides that I decided to work with. Now let's use the Type tool to start placing some text. I can just click and drag to create a text box, and then type here to create some text. Now since I'm inside a parent page, I'm just going to add placeholder text, nothing special. This is essentially a template that I'm going to use. Repeat this process to lay out your composition. For example, here's the copy that I decided to add to my layout. I'm using the font Preface Sans Serif from Envato Elements because it's got a sleek, modern style. You can download it too if you like. Check out the description for more info. To play with the aesthetic a little more, I'm just going to add some accents here with the Line tool. I'll add them and adjust them to match my typography. You can just click and drag to draw a line with the Line tool, and with the line selected, you can also click and drag to adjust it. Here's a look at how my idea turned out. I also want to add some dynamic page numbers to my design. I'll create a new text box here at the bottom of my composition using that Type tool again, just like I did for my other typography in my layout. However, once I have the box drawn, it's time to insert a special character. I'll do so by going to Type, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number. This is a dynamic addition that will reflect the current page number. Since I'm in a parent page, that's just going to read as A for now because this is Parent A. It's not an active page. Finally, let's add some imagery to get a feel for how my portfolio pages will look. I'll start by selecting the rectangular frame that I'd like to bring my image into. Then I'll head to File, Place, and select my imagery. Now that my image has been inserted, I can toggle between editing the frame itself and the image within the frame. To do so, just double-click and it'll toggle between the two. This is a nice way to manually adjust your imagery. Repeat this process to insert and adjust your imagery into the placeholders. Here's a look at my layout. Now that we have our parent pages designed, it's time to use them. I'll start by creating some new pages here. My first page here is going to be my cover, and I'd like pages 2 and 3, as well as 4 and 5 here, just for example, to be my interior portfolio pages. I could always add more. Then my last page will act as my back cover for now. Again, you could add as many pages as you prefer, especially since those page numbers we added earlier are dynamic. Now let's take a look at those parent pages. I want my interior pages to be derived from parent A, but right now my front and back cover don't need to be derived from that. That's not what I'm looking for. I can choose between my parent A and none up here in my layers panel. It's as simple as clicking and dragging to choose. So first, let's edit our active portfolio pages here. We don't want to keep all the template content here, so we'll need to edit that to be specific to each page. Let's explore this idea on the second set of portfolio pages here. Normally, you won't be able to edit content from your parent pages. You can't just click to edit it because it's part of the parent page. We'll need to hold down Shift-Command on Mac or Shift-Control on PC while clicking. Then we can make local edits to our page. Now I can proceed to make my edits. Remember, you can choose between the rectangular frame itself and its contents. So over here, I'll double-click until I've selected the portfolio image, and then I'm just going to delete it with the Delete key. I'll just select the frame again and place a new image. So here's what my layout looks like with this new content inserted. You could repeat this process for as many pages as you like. Now let's go ahead and create a cover for our portfolio. I'm going to create a new parent page, and this one will be called Parent B. Now I only need one page here, so you want to make sure that's reflected accordingly. If you have a 2-page spread here, for example, you can just remove the extra page. Let's go ahead and place a full image here. Again, that's File, Place, to insert imagery, and I want this to take up my whole page. Adjust your image as you see fit. I'm going to resize it until I'm happy with its alignment on my page. Before I add in my title, I'm going to draw a rectangular frame here towards the top of my composition. The fill here is white. However, I think it might be cool to play with the transparency a little bit. I can do that by right-clicking on PC or Control-clicking on Mac, and then going to Effects, Transparency. I'm going to bring my transparency down to 90% so I can see the image a little bit through my rectangular frame. Next, I'll add in some type. I want my typography here to match what I've built in my interior pages, so I'm going to use that same font, Preface Sans Serif, which you can download too. Make sure to check out that link in the description. And I'll use the line tool in a similar way too. Here's my result. And let's wrap things up with a back cover. I'm going to follow a similar process here. I've made another parent page. This one is Parent C. And since this is the back cover, I'd like to keep things simple. I'll place an image here, and I'll just make it a small accent this time. I'll also take the contact info that I put on my front cover and just paste it here too. Let's leave it small as a compliment. Sometimes less is more, and I'd really like this part of my design to be simple and clean. Let's make sure these parent pages are applied where we'd like them in our active pages too. Again, it's as simple as clicking and dragging. I can zoom out as well to get an overview of my work. Check it out. Here's what we created. Before we wrap up, we've basically made ourselves a template here. You could save your work as an INDD or InDesign file, but did you know you could save this as an INDT or InDesign template file too? So what's the difference? Well, if you open up your InDesign template file, it'll create a new document based on your design, like a copy. No risk to overwriting the original, and that's pretty handy. So thanks for working along with me, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also click the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'm Daisy Ein, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you go out there and create something awesome. Happy designing!